Hey, welcome to the April 2019 version of Tech Talk. And again, we're going to talk about hacking your information and 5G and networking for your cell phone. Stay tuned. Glad you could stick with us. And got Kingsley Meyer and Dwayne Rigsby from OSU. So, talking about international hacking or information breaches.
Information breaches. Aren't we getting used to this? This is getting to be breaches and hacks are getting to be a normal thing, in a way. I know it's not good.
We shouldn't relax about it.
Well, are we relaxed, or are we getting
complacent?
Getting to a society that just okay, it's another breach. Who cares?
Yeah.
Move on.
Well, I think I think the first story you're talking about has maybe more to do with business and products and things getting leaked. Is that true?
Every month we get together for this show at this time, and one of the roles that I play in this is I go out and I replay all the different news that comes across my my news feeds, and I try to find if there's a new theme. And one of the things that I see is gaming, technology moving into cars, and we've done theme shows. We've talked about technology during the holidays, and that's typical of us. But you're absolutely right about being complacent, and the fact that we have so many stories that have come out about cybersecurity, cyber intrusions into our data, into our businesses, into our personal lives. And I'd kind of like to open it up to that, because how we handle that, and Pat, let's go to the first slide. What the heck? I drive home, in the evenings, and there's something called a driveway moment, when the story that you hear on the radio is one that you just can't leave alone. You kind of want to stay in the car and hear how. Luckily, you can play them back now. But on National Public Radio, they were talking about U.S. businesses that had been attacked, and our trade secrets, our industrial knowledge, all of this had been drawn from us. It no longer is our property, and they don't have to worry about industry to industry as much as they have to worry about certain international states taking our property and turning it into a competitive advantage against us. And whose responsibility?
They'll just remake an iPhone at half the price, and because they have the information of how you do it.
Well, we knew back when
not that they don't produce it anyway.
When a particular three-letter company, HAL, remember that, produced a computer, people took that apart and they reverse engineered it, and they figured out what it took to make it behave like that manufacturer.
Right.
The people that wore white hats formed companies like Compaq and others. The black hackers, the black hack people turned into hackers. But that was how they learned it. Now they're just going in and downloading the data off of our sites. And if it's an international issue, whose responsibility is it to govern and protect us when we know exactly who's involved? And please note, we're not talking about elections and anything that has been alleged here. But we're just talking about...
So instead of Space Force, we're going to talk Net Force.
Net Force. We are.
Network force,
And so, the question is, if it's happening, who's responsible for protecting us?
Yeah.
And can we draw that into a theme a little bit today?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
So, the second slide, and we've done this. This is now, I think, collection number 5. There are huge collections of billions and billions of user records. And we did a security audit the other day on our systems that we operate. And one of the things they do is they go and they take all the users that are on your systems, and they compare their credentials to these big data dumps, and they wanted to tell us what our risk score was
Yeah.
for how many users we have that are known in those dumps. Because what do? Our users are repeating the same passwords
Right.
over and over and over again. So potentially, a machine learning system could go out and crank through all of these in a batch mode, and they could possibly get into your system because they're going to match up your usernames with something that has been dumped because people are lazy and use the same passwords. Who's responsible?
There's a certain amount of personal responsibility, but
Yeah.
is it the government, the company?
That's a good.
And is there anybody, if you get hacked, that you can point your finger to?
When something happens
can you recover?
here at The Ohio State University,
Yep.
and it's one of your coworkers,
Uh-huh.
who gets the pink slip and takes their lunch bucket home?
Well, I'll say it this way. It depends on how the scenario happens.
All right.
If the person was deliberate and in the fact that they lost the data, will they?
They took it to the beach, the laptop, and left it there unlocked?
Yeah, but you have to. Or now we do enough security to the machine that.
Encryption and
Yeah,
stuff?
I'm trying to say everything correctly here in the right steps. That the machine is encrypted. It has a strong password. It is inventoried, so we know that the machine was encrypted the last time it checked in. We know the last time it checked in. So it's sort of an inventory or an asset management
You have GPS on that?
system.
No.
No, I don't think.
But you could tell over the network what IP address it's
Yeah, you
local.
could tell by IP, so you could get a range, I guess.
But you put an agent on the machine, and
Yeah.
every time it calls home to the mothership says, "What's happened? Are you still using bit encryption on the drive? Has the user used the dual factor authentication, Duo? I
Yep.
think in OSU's case,
Uh-huh.
and are they changing their passwords according to policies? And that's about the best you can do.
Yep. Yeah, and it'll tell you, if the machine has been the last time it was logged in and all this stuff. So you can tell if the person that would maybe lost the laptop or something, if they report it right away, they can say, my machine was stolen.
And you can send out a little signal that goes,
then-
wipe it?
Well, yeah, you can. You can say, there's even certain aspects of our phones to accept email on your phone, university email. You have to consent that they can wipe your phone if need be, and you have to agree, or you don't get that on your phone. So if my phone was lost, I could call in and say, "Hey, my phone was stolen. Could you wipe?" And they would wipe it remotely. So the next time it
Everything or
came
just
on
their
or turned
stuff?
on, no, I think it's the entire phone. Well, there's different applications. So there's
Okay.
different ways that you can accept the agreement. There's some that you use an application that is specifically for email, or if you use I'll call it a generic email program, then it refers to the entire phone. But if you use their dedicated program, then it wipes the program. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it kind of splits the phone in half, if you would. So it would erase OSU stuff, but then it wouldn't erase maybe my personal stuff, photos and things like that.
Yeah.
It
So
would
like
be up
if
to
I
me
took
to
a
do the rest
photo
of
of
that.
the schematic and the IP numbers of our whole network on there, then
Yeah.
You guys are
Yeah.
geeks. You really are geeks.
Listen at
Now, the average user,
Uh-huh.
they get issued their device.
Yep.
You tell them, here's how you set up your mail. Click next, click next, click next. Don't worry about that. You don't need to read it. Scroll down,
Right.
click next.
Exactly.
Mike, do we have the ability to wipe your phone?
no.
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
When you went agreed.
Did you know that?
No.
You obviously didn't
See?
read the policy.
there's a
I shouldn't say the policy, but you
there's
didn't
not
read it.
yeah.
And would we ever?
I didn't think you
No,
guys
what
could
would
do
it be?
that.
With the whole particular aspect of it, I'm not saying I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing that you, whether it's Kingsley or it's the university or whoever, is taking forth that effort to say, hey, I'm gonna help you to keep it safe.
Yeah. Well, I figured I could
know,
do that with my Apple
and you can.
thing where I can
Yeah.
just.
And,
You
and,
can.
and it's a fuzzy yes or no. We don't have all the layers of tools that the Ohio State University has invested in. But to some extent, you do have the right to do not the right, you do have the abilities
Ability.
and the tools to do those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna fudge on that because there's too many of my coworkers and friends out there listening. It's just you do need to be responsible for your device,
Sure.
and the organization needs to be responsible for giving you those proper tools to assist you in being diligent.
Yeah.
Is that fair enough?
And I'm going to say that I don't know this for a fact, but I don't know as I've ever heard anybody ever had to do that. So
That's surprising.
you know, and then the other
We've had instances
other-
where it's like, oh yeah.
and then the other
There are
question
more
is
devices that fall
you know,
into the toilet. There really are.
oh yeah, absolutely. And think about it. You know Mike, I say it's my phone, but yeah, I have university email on it, and I lose it. Do I even think to report it to the university? Say, oh yeah, I lost my phone. No, I just go buy another phone and I put it on there. No one ever knows the difference.
Right.
Because I know Kingsley has lots of time on his hands, and all he does is sit there and read through there and go, oh look, Mike got a new phone that logged into the system to check his email. He has I'll lay money on it that he has no idea how many phones that you've put on that thing.
There's
You
not
know?
enough time in the
No,
day
there's no way.
to keep track of how many times somebody is connected to an to an Office 365 account.
Absolutely.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
But
it's really up to you. It's up to the end user, I think, to either be diligent enough to say, hey, I lost it, or, like you said, I'll just use my iPhone scrubber, or whatever that thing's called, and delete it myself and done, move on.
But if you are the responsible party, does that put you in any financial liability?
Financial liability.
Or-
Ooh.
I mean,
what do you mean financial? I guess.
well, if
I need a little
something
bit more information.
escaped from my phone that was ripped off, that the information was taken from it, being student records or secret things that
Employee
how I've wired up the
liability
studio.
in a breach, not institutional, organizational, but the individual liability of being complicit in a breach of information.
Unknowingly, not like, hey Russians, here's the stuff.
And that's where the fuzzy line between maliciousness, carelessness, and being totally unknowing
Right.
comes to play. And I know that in Title IX and in everything else that hits our lives, there's a process for going through the investigation.
Yep.
I hope I never have to be part of that process of having something go wrong and getting down to the individual's liability and accountability. The institution has typically insurance on protecting the individual
Yep.
within the framework of their job. But if something were to happen and somebody were to bring a lawsuit against your organization and then have as a co-party the actual person.
Push them in front of the train.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's retire first.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about it. We're in Southern Ohio. We don't, no one ever bothers us, right?
Yeah, right.
If it is, we just run the hills.
But
What's our next slide, Kingsley?
number 3, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
3 or 9.
We're moving right along.
We're
We're
talking
gonna
about
run
something
out
kind of virtual, kind of fuzzy about users. We still bring up over and over and over again that physical things happen. We find our Internet of Things devices at home that all of a sudden become part of a distributed denial of service. And here again, Homeland Security has told us, excuse me, that there's a flaw in virtual private network software, Cisco, Palo Alto, Pulse Secure, others. That means that what you thought was a secure connection between your mobile users, let's say in a laptop, and connecting into your organization. So it's like they're protected inside.
Yeah.
May not work.
May not. It
What do
still
you
may
think
be able to
about
be
these
hacked.
VPNs that they advertise on the internet? Or
Well, some of them are proxy servers, so that you can go ahead and look at the statistics for how many people watch Tech Talk, and it looks like you're from Belarus. But in reality, being able to connect as a remote worker so that you can get that privileged information, even though you're not within the protected constructs of the physical network. But that always makes me rest well to know that we have these companies and they put the equipment in and we trust them, and then all of a sudden the government says, oh, by the way, just so you know, you're not as secure as you thought you were.
Kingsley, do we, and this is just, I'll say this is a preference or not, if you use a VPN, would you prefer to buy a service or put in your own hardware? And then when you put in your own hardware, then it's up to you to maintain it, or pay the provider and hope that they are updating it. Is that a fair question? Which would be better?
No.
I know it's not.
do you want somebody else to change your oil? You do it yourself, right?
Yeah, it is. Do you trust? I mean, I think we're as a society we're getting that way anyway. We're all going third party with everything.
Okay.
So, but in a
large organization has on-premise data centers. They buy all of the equipment. They take care of it. They hire a staff that's got the credentialing and the competencies, and all of a sudden something goes wrong. Who's responsible? The software that they were using, the individual, the auditing company that told them that, hey, we checked it last year, everything seemed good.
Yeah.
Or you move into a new as a service type of environment where you've outsourced that. Your data's in the cloud, and again, it's been configured, it's been checked by people, and all of a sudden you've still lost the same data. I think it's a wash.
Think it's a wash.
I think it's a wash.
So are we getting in the age of we should, like we buy life insurance and health insurance and all these other insurances? Should we start buying data insurance to where?
Next slide, please.
Yeah.
There's too many places your information is.
Yeah, and the question is, when something bad happens, who's accountable, and can you be insured against a cyber incident?
That's my question. Yes. I don't know.
Or does that fall under acts of God? Like that big loophole?
Well, I know there's commercials out there that I don't remember. The guy or gal, whoever it is, puts their social security number on a bus and says, "Drive around. I've got some kind of lock, whatever the name." I don't
Lifelock
want.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
How'd that work for him?
Yeah, is that the data security now? Are individuals, should we
It's
start?
complicated. We wouldn't be talking about it on
I
Tech
know.
Talk if we didn't know that these things are really hard to discuss.
It is.
The last slide was just a real quickie to kind of point out Dwayne's point. A company that makes candy all of a sudden just got practically crippled when they had a cyber incident, and does their insurance cover them?
Say it shut down their ovens or whatever. Yeah.
So we have an email system. We have an email system. A lot of us use them. Whether it's Gmail last week or Yahoo, still the largest intrusion of personal identifier. Microsoft announced with one news cycle that they may have lost some accounts, and then in the next news cycle they go, oh, by the way, we're using artificial intelligence products in Azure Cloud to protect us from cyber attacks. How's that working for you? Makes me feel better.
So what they're saying is that they're trying to protect us, but it's still impossible.
Nobody trying to offer products or services is intentionally malicious. I don't doubt that there are cyber international nation states that are trying to screw with you. I think there's a lot of bad going out there, but the organizations that we buy services from don't intentionally screw up. Right. Screw-ups happen.
Yeah, I agree.
How about lighter news?
You watch Game of Thrones?
I do not.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have.
And can we get it
DirecTV.
on? Obviously, I don't think I can watch it on Hulu and
No.
AT&T stuff. But okay,
Handmaid's Tale coming up again.
a what?
Handmaid's Tale.
Okay, you don't watch
I
Hulu
don't
then.
know. I don't subscribe.
There was
I
a
don't do
large
that.
move with our service providers, our communications, whether it's Comcast or whatever.
AT&T there
AT&T
for this matter.
AT&T Universal, owners of NBC, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They bought up the content company Hulu,
Okay.
but just recently Hulu said, we don't like that arrangement, and they went and bought out the remaining shares so that they gained more local control of their company.
Okay. So they bought back their company.
Yes, and before we went online, I said, gee, I'm really hoping that HBO, Time Warner, that AT&T picked up.
Yeah.
I'm not against AT&T, I'm just saying, that it would be nice if we had that separation again.
Sort of like a Brexit.
Sort of like a Brexit. Yeah. We also talked about, before the show started, about the tingly feeling when you start walking in front of a big microwave tower, and the trend now with 5G networks using some bandwidth areas that are, kind of questionable.
Okay.
I think
The radiation that comes off these is closer to the microwave area and might do harm to you. Your skin and your eyes and,
But-
Is that the wave that would affect, like a heart
Yeah.
thing?
Well, yeah,
Whatever those
probably.
things are called?
there's-
It would give you
there's-
palpitations, possibly.
There's two parts of this question and
Okay.
all sorts of political implications. One part is who owns the radio spectrum?
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yep.
you could sit around a table in Washington and you say, hey, I'll let you buy this gigahertz range,
Yeah.
and if you let me buy that, because over here in Houston we need to do this and that.
Uh-huh.
It's a big game.
It's like who owns the water
Yeah,
because it's air. It's a frequency.
it's a frequency.
And
It-
at the
it is
beginning, the FCC was to allot channels just so you had organization. This goes here and that goes there, and they weren't selling it.
it's a law of physics.
Mm-hmm.
It's an electromagnetic spectrum. To say it's real complicated, Pat,
Yeah.
number 11.
Yeah.
Everything from light to radio is broken down into little blocks.
Yeah.
Everything from your Internet of Things light switch that's talking to, what we call them, Z-Wave and Zigbees and
Yeah.
stuff.
And
to-
since we've gone from analog to digital, all those little blocks have gotten smaller because digital can be spaced a lot closer than
And-
analog does.
And you remember when we got on a little rant, I know it's not like us to rant, about when we went from regular TV to digital, and
Yeah.
everybody had to get those little receivers.
Yeah.
And, just like I used to be able to get it on top of the hill with this antenna, now I can't get anything.
Yeah.
They're trying to force me all to satellite, or they're trying to force me all to cable. And the companies are now taking over the whole thing. This is where I'll allow a little bit of conspiracy theory. It's like the satellite orbits. Who owns it? I don't think anybody owns it.
It should be
But we're gonna have to-
organized so nobody's bumping into each other.
And probably is, because the radio signals, unless they bounce off and they travel globally, some of these have a distance and range.
Yeah.
And so the cellular frequencies used by our phones, you know how far they go.
Right.
And so they're local. And they're governed by this region and that region. The U.S. has a code and they do that. But it is all over the world. I don't know how I feel about that. Can I do one more thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You've got a new toy there. I'll call it.
It's my name tag.
Yeah.
You went to the big city.
I went to an event, and everywhere I went, people came up to me. They said, hey, can I scan your badge? And it was in the vendor hall. It was going into all the sessions.
Yeah.
It's like, I
And-
don't know you that well.
And all of a sudden, I get back. Well, I didn't even get back. I was on the plane, and they're just like, oh, thank you for attending my session. If you need any more information, I'd be glad to follow up. If you like my slide deck, blah, 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 we'd like to sell you this and that. But we have gone from ID cards that were just stupid pictures of us when we were in college to having magnetic stripes
Yep.
to having RFID tags that you pass by a reader.
Right.
I don't know why they couldn't take us as we walked through.
Yeah.
It was a job creator. There was somebody.
Yeah.
standing
Well,
at
it's the
door.
same.
right.
It's the same way that the stores.
Yeah.
There's a store that you can go in, pick up your stuff, and walk out the door, and the RFID on all the products go, "Drrrt, here's your total, and it charged your card, and you didn't even know it.
That wouldn't be the big A, would it?
I think it is. Yeah.
The big A with the big W.
Yeah.
Big WF.
Yeah. They opened that store.
But now we apply it to people. You know, you can tell whether you come and go or where
yeah.
you
You
went.
could. Yeah. You could.
Pat, do we have any minutes left?
We got a couple.
We've got a couple left. Yeah. So.
I'm going to turn to something real positive.
Okay. Let's hear
Into
it.
that. We all knew that this week there was a
'Cause we've
horrific
gotten
fire,
past tax time.
a horrific fire in Paris.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I was really glad to see some of the world's leaders stepping up and putting money down. Let's rebuild it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
One thing I learned at lunch today was there aren't enough really large trees to rebuild all of that oak structure that is in the top part of that
Oh.
cathedral.
Really. Yeah.
The trees were more old growth trees at the time of 900 AD or whatever it was.
It's because we've used up all of our resources. You know, we
So
don't
what
have
happened?
the regrowth.
Resources. Yeah,
Yeah.
regrowth. So now's all the time for the research institutions to talk about wood products,
Yeah.
laminated lumbers. Time for the architects
Yep.
to join in competitions for redesign. And I was just glad to see Tim Cook said Apple put money down.
Good.
I don't know.
Good deal,
I think it's a positive note.
Yeah, the only thing that bothered me is just the way it was talked about as a museum, a relic. And it's like the church should be a living thing rather than something looked back on like, oh, look at that, a sign of a different time.
Yeah.
It's the Catholic faith, and it's as relevant now as it used to be or should be.
It's a historical monument because
It
it's
is.
lasted.
Sure.
So long.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We won't get to arm wrestle over.
I
that.
thought it was. I thought it was funny. Somebody was talking about burning down the Eiffel Tower. It's like it's metal.
Yeah. I missed that one.
Yeah.
Coming to an end of our April Tech Talk, we'll have a May show,
Yep.
and then we'll probably move into the summer hours. Let us know what you'd like to talk about. Otherwise, we're just going to ramble on about the things that come up in the news. But we love hearing from you, so send us your requests.
Thanks for watching.